Did you know that money does buy happiness? Did you know this?
A
Cameron,
little
did
bit.
you know this? You knew this a little bit?
Things do bring me joy that cost money, so I would have to agree with that statement.
I Googled today in the search for a good podcast topic, funny quotes about money. And the quote I got, and I've since forgotten because, of course, I closed my browser out, was something along the lines of how that quote where it's like, I'd rather cry in a Porsche than a Prius or whatever. And I'm like, let me look that up. And I Googled, does money buy happiness? So there's a study that came out in 2010, and it set I'm going to call it the happiness quotient, happiness to money quotient, maxed out at about 75, 80K. Apparently, after that, your level of happiness, essentially you could take care of yourself, would only very minutely increase past that amount. Turns out that the more money you make, you do actually get happier because you experience life more fully. And like experiencing life is actually something that they didn't measure in that particular study. So this dude in 2021, short story long, he interviewed people that made anywhere from minimum wage all the way to up over 500 grand. And essentially, people that have more money don't experience sadness less, but they experience more happiness than people with less money.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it, right? There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. I mean, there are people that have nothing, right? And they're completely content and happy. And there's opposite too. People have everything and they're, maybe lonely or whatever issues are going on to where like money's maybe not going to fulfill that. But in general, and I think we'll go through some examples here, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, I'm trying to find, there's this really cool chart of, like when you open a bunch of browsers and you're like, yeah, I'm going to freaking remember that. Of course, then I freaking closed them at one point in the day. But it was like here it is. This is interesting. So this chart, let me share my screen. Share. This essentially shows that is this it? Yeah, check this out. So life satisfactions, here's 75K, right? So 75K is where you like max out your experience well-being, apparently. But then your life satisfaction goes up more the more money you have, because you can like go on trips, you can take care of your family, you can get cool experiences, you get a freaking sweet sports car. So there's definitely something to be said. However, then what happens is it's not like $100 makes someone happy. It's the incremental uptick percentage wise. So someone who has $1,000, $10 would make them happy. Someone who has $1 million, they would need like $10,000 to feel the same amount of happy. So it's like that reverse correlation. You need more to like feel it more.
I think that makes sense. I don't know when that survey was done or whatever, but 75,000, depending on where you live, especially now with inflation and stuff, like that number's fucking bullshit. Like if you live in Chicago, New York City, most of California, Seattle, like if you're married, you got kids, 75K is not, you're scraping by. Like, let's be honest, right? So I think that number is much higher. Plus, I saw a study, like you were saying, that they were like, oh yeah, same thing. I think theirs was 90. It was like, yeah, if you go from like 20,000 a year to 90,000 or 40,000, like, yeah, extreme increase in happiness. Yeah, duh, because you're like, oh, I get to eat today. Yeah, that would make you happy, duh. Yeah. And then they were like, over 90,000, there's not really much of a difference. Okay,
dude, if you doubled my income,
someone who makes $1 million a year and someone makes $90,000, you tell me there's still only slight difference in happiness? Come on. I think they just tell people that, so they'll just like be quiet and be content, like basically being a wage slave and working 9 to 5.
I wonder how much subtext there is. And I'm always like, when they do these surveys, I'm like, number one, who has time to answer surveys? I mean, some people, I guess, but like, who are they polling? Like when they go to the polls and they're like, oh yeah, this candidate's winning. And I'm like, who's sitting around taking freaking electoral polls? who doesn't, number one, screen those calls out? And then number two, if I do answer, hey, will you do a survey? I'm like, no, I'm very not interested / busy.
I think older people
yeah.
that have nothing.
Oh, it's really fun
else,
for like half
they're
hour.
like, oh yeah, this person has to listen to me. They called me, like, I'm going to tell you my political beliefs would be my guess.
Oh, that's true. No, that's a good point.
I'm not saying like all old people just sit around at home lonely, but like they make enough of those calls, they're finding those people, right? Like,
God, my first freaking sales job out of college, I won't say the name of the company. I actually wonder if it still exists, but it was like a straight up like scammy, like throwing heat type company where we would basically target old people. I worked there for 2 weeks. I made one sale and I felt so bad. It was a little old lady. I'm like, get out your credit card, grandma. And I quit by sliding a note under my boss's desk and like running out of the building. And then I like blocked the phone number so I could like never talk to them again. I was also like early in my sales career, so I was a total puss. But I mean, they're very susceptible just for whatever reason. And they have a lot of time on their hands.
Good for you, man. I mean, you didn't know when you started that, but you saw what was happening and you got out of there. So it takes a big person to walk away and do that. So
it was a lot of more just my pure sales cowardice at the time. Like I was a total like I'm good now, but that's just years and years of being like completely immunized to rejection, I guess. But yeah, I think one thing that is interesting though, you know who Dan Bilzerian is?
That is the guy who made a lot of money playing poker, right? And then
he's like the guy who's always
started the weed company and posting with like all these beautiful women all the time. And then recently, sounds like he was broke and was basically lying, tricking investors because he basically like disappeared off the face of the earth, right? Like abandoned his LA mansion that he was renting or whatever. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised
if that's why you're bringing that up, but I think that happened last year. I saw something like that. Like he disappeared off social media because something came out that it's like, yo, that dude's in a lot of debt and he can't pay. You know, you live this lavish lifestyle, which is a great point you brought up because the money doesn't buy happiness thing, I think is incorrect. But there are people who are like so unhappy, they try to fill it with buying things and no amount of things will change in that person's situation. So in their case, it doesn't matter how much money they have to buy things or experiences. Like that's not going to help or like and make them feel better, right? Or happy.
Yeah, I think that guy was definitely filling some crazy void. And there was always like stuff out. Like I remember I read this article. This is a total tangent, but it's interesting. He like someone was like looking at the furniture in the picture, like at his house. And maybe I was like, at the time I was like, who cares? It's just maybe he's frugal. The brand was like some brand that's like essentially like an upgraded IKEA is kind of what they called it. It's nice, but it's not like if you're a billionaire, that's like what your designer's going to fill your house with. So there was a lot of musings about him kind of being like fake rich or just like spending it like you earn it or whatever. But yeah, so I watched this interview with him and he talked about how, so I think where there is a lot of depression amongst really affluent people is once you reach like, I eat at 5-star restaurants every night. I drive a Ferrari. I like date the most beautiful people, blah, blah, blah. Like it's so hard to like get a dopamine bump. Like when your life is like a 10 in terms of like indulgent level of access. So I think that's where there can be that lack of fulfillment if you're just trying to use money to be happy.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. So this would be a question for the listeners too, but I'll ask you as well, Joe. What do you think the rarest resource on earth is?
I mean, I would say time.
100%. That's what it is. And that's the key here. So money buys you time, which basically means now you have this time to go do the things that make you happy. Because how many people look forward to Monday when they have to go back to work to the 9 to 5? Not many, right? Like everyone's like, oh, I wish the weekend was longer. Like I didn't have enough time or I didn't get to do this or that, or want to spend more time with my kids or my spouse or whatever, right? So that's what money does. It allows you to have that time available. Like most people, if they didn't have to go do a 9 to 5 every day, what would they go do, right? They would find hobbies, maybe volunteer their time, like start a charity or a business that it doesn't matter the money it makes. You're just doing it because you enjoy it.
I like that.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's and that's a good time because it's like once you reach a certain level, it's okay, I can't fill it with indulgence. Now I need to fill it with purpose. Yeah, so
exactly.
And also another great thing is all that shit that like so of course vast majority of people, all of a sudden someone handed me a bag full of $10 million. I like my job, but I don't like it. I have $10 million anyway. You know what I mean? Like that's not what I'm doing when I have money and I'm set for life now. I mean, but you don't have to do that stuff. Like I don't have to do laundry anymore. I don't have to cook anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like all those responsibilities that absorb your time. Now you're living essentially 2 lives. Like how many hours a week do you think, estimate how many hours a week do you think you do household chores?
Well, I work from home, which one of the benefits is like I can get up and rotate the laundry while I'm working. So I try to get things like that done while I'm working. But as far as I'd say probably like 2 to 3 hours on like a Sunday or something, one day a week is when I spend where I'm like, I'm going to mop and sweep the floors and like clean the bathrooms, wipe down the counters, that sort of thing. More of like
that's not actually a very, that's not a bad times commitment for weekly chores.
I'm in a condo and, my son's here half the time and I'm pretty clean kind of person. Like I clean as I go. So each day it's like whatever dishes are in the sink, like I'll fill the dishwasher. If there's possibly hand washed, I just wash them that night. So as you do that, as you're going, there's not really like a lot of stuff that needs to get done. And then when
so even at that level, let's say you just do 3 hours a week and that's very minimal, right? Like what a luxury. I work from home also. So yeah, like saving on the commute time too, right? So
yes, that's huge.
3 hours a week. So after 8 weeks, you would have saved an extra day of your life.
Yeah.
So what? Let's do some math here. I'm going to get my phone out because my maths is not good. Let's say you live to 80, you'll probably live to like 120. But let's say 80, you're just use 30 as a number now, minus 80. Wait, 80 minus, so 50 years left, divided by 52. This is bad. 50 times 52, divided by 8. Is that right? Divided by 24. So you would gain almost 867 more days on your life if you didn't even have to do that 3 hours of chores every week. If you are someone who doesn't have to do things because they will be able to remove those tasks because they can afford to pay a maid or something.
And that's a lot. The key thing is imagine eliminating your job, right? Like people spend usually 9 hours, right? Like you have roughly a half hour or an hour lunch, then your 8 hours of work. Plus that doesn't even include commute. Like when I lived in the Bay Area in California, in Northern California, like the average commute for people was like an hour and a half, 2 hours each way.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine that? Like, yes.
Why? Because of traffic? Or do you have to live far just to freaking afford it?
No, that's only to go like 15 miles. I'm sure people who live in LA, it's like the same because those cities aren't like New York to where they're designed to be very public transportation friendly. No, they're like
it's so spread out.
You have to drive. I remember moving to Arizona and people were from Arizona, like grew up there, been there a long time. They would cry about a 30-minute commute to get to work. 30 minutes? I'm like, that's how long it used to take to go to the fucking grocery store in California. Like, so when you add that time in of like a 3 or 4 hour commute each day plus 9 hours of working, like your life is being sucked away 5 days a week.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So, I mean, cleaning adds to it and cooking and all that. But I mean, you're basically like, if you didn't have to worry about money, you'd be getting back like 50, 60 hours a week of your time. Imagine what you could do with that.
Yeah.
Even if all you want to do is like sit and read books or like go for walks, whatever you want to do, you would find stuff that would bring you joy.
Dude, and I want to be a vampire so I can, sorry, finish your, it's in line with this, but yeah, finish your thought. Sorry.
I was going to put this out there because I'm sure people are like, how are we supposed to get $10 million? You don't need that. You just literally, even if you get passive income to where a level to just replace your current income.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point, right? Like, you don't need to go out and buy Ferraris and Lambos and things like that. It's just like, if your bills are covered.
What do you think about universal basic income? Like that concept of being able to remove that threshold where people have to worry about taking care of themselves?
I think it's interesting, but like the cost of everything should just be cheaper.
So you think that's a better solution than?
Yeah, because when we start
giving people money,
look what happened with college, right? As soon as the government guaranteed like basically a student loan to anyone who wanted one, what did colleges do?
Oh,
rates increased like 800%.
So you're saying if everyone's going to have guaranteed
the cost of everything
rent,
would go up,
whatever, groceries, all that shit goes up.
Yeah.
Because now it's, oh, cool, everyone can afford it. We can get more money.
So you're inflating the problem, right? Because if you're like, oh, I know these people are making this set amount each week or whatever, then you could just price things specifically that way, targeting people, right? And people would also not everyone, but there would be a handful of people who would just not appreciate. They wouldn't give a shit, right? If they're like, oh, an iPhone, I make $1,000 a week universal income or whatever the amount. If they were to go buy some $500, they wouldn't care. They didn't do anything for the money, right? Like, it's a lot different.
Could you see it having a positive impact on the consumer economy, though? Because people would definitely spend more money.
Oh, of course. That's what the stimulus checks during COVID, the point of those were. They were trying to stimulate the economy. So in the United States, we're in a consumer economy. It's like people have to keep buying shit for the economy to keep running.
Yeah, we literally
saw what happened when people went on lockdowns and people weren't buying shit. What happened to the economy? It went grinded right to a halt.
God. You know what's going to be really nuts? And I honestly think that they're going to have to dismiss student loans altogether because they've been on hold for like what, a year, 2 years now almost.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So my fucking cat is standing on my printer and it's like, she like hit the test button. It's printing test papers now. Oh,
dude, my cat freaking locked me on my patio the other day. And tell this story real quick. So I Google tan through swimsuit because I read this article about how, and I did a little due diligence.
Like a see-through bathing suit?
So,
what are your plans?
It's called tan through. So you can't see through it unless you're really close. But the whole concept
or it gets wet.
Yeah, I haven't tested it in the water yet. The whole concept is getting sun on your like man area is like really supposed to be good for. Dude,
I've heard that. Yeah, you're supposed to sun your
balls
balls
in there. This light might come crashing down.
So if you sun your balls, it's supposed to increase your testosterone, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to it's the UV rays on your balls, etc. So I get this thing anyway. It's ridiculous. I order a size bigger, and like they don't make. It's not a bathing suit made for a straight. It's a European cut. Let's call it that. It's not an American cut. I don't want to. It's not gay or straight. It's a European cut.
It's like a side piper.
It's fucking tiny, dude. Okay, so it's really tight, and it goes like probably a third of the way down my thigh. And I'm like, whatever. I'm just on my patio, and my cat jumps and like hangs on the door, and it's one of the doors that like flips down to lock it, and she freaking locks it. So we're stuck on the patio, on the balcony, on the like floors up, no way down,
and you're just wearing this speedo,
ridiculous, sensual, yeah, right. And we're like trying to pry the door open. I'm like, Abby, Google how to pry the patio door open. We got like the patio, like the grill flippers, and we're like trying to like shim the door up. Nothing's working. It's the very safe door. Anyway, so my neighbor, I see him walking, and I'm like, dude, this is really weird. Can you please come in my apartment and open the door? So that's where it gets worse. Thank God he let us in. But then he had to see me in this like European, like rainbow colored bathing suit, shirtless.
Well, I mean, you're
sweaty.
You're in great shape, so that's nothing to be like embarrassed about.
That's true. I felt bad for him though because it was a little weird for him. So he was super cool about it though. But
that's good.
I don't know how the hell I even got on it. Oh, my cat.
What are you on the first floor or higher up?
We're higher up, so
you would have to like try to climb.
dangled Abby down, and like she could have maybe like cat dropped, like, 10 feet, but we didn't think of it. Luckily, it saved the day.
It's nice the neighbors come. Oh, man, can you imagine that? That would have been some news story, huh? Like, guy dies climbing off patio in his man thong because the cat
There's a picture of the bathing suit, tiny little thing. God.
Which I don't think those look that bad. Like, Daniel Craig and what was it, Casino Royale? Is that the scene with Halle Berry where he comes out of the water? That's in my mind what you're describing, right? To where it's almost like a like tight fitting, like a very short.
His look kind of like a cool, like you could like put a scuba knife in it type look. This is like, it's like a swirly rainbow pattern. It's not cool.
Oh,
I actually got it because I thought it was funny looking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so trying to correlate this back to what we were talking about. Freaking cat. And then
cat was on the printer.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
So anyway, money apparently does buy happiness. I think there's a lot of ways to interpret that. Oh, and then we were talking about time being like the most valuable resource. Oh, okay. So vampire. Because I'd love to be able to live forever and just take my time with everything, it would be super cool to be a vampire. Would you, if you could be a creature of fantasy creature or whatever, what would you choose?
This is kind of similar. My friend asked me the other day, like, if you could have a superpower, like, what would it be? I forget what I initially said. I think it was like all knowing or something like that. And because sometimes with the live forever one, people are like, yeah, that's fun for like in movies, right? Like 1,000 years, but then after a while, like everyone you become friends with or like your loved ones, you just watch everyone die and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, that doesn't sound that fun. So I was torn. And he was like, oh, if you live forever, you could just learn everything over time. You could build your wealth over time. Like you could really make changes to like benefit the world type of thing. So he changed my mind and I was like, yeah, I would definitely. So I guess I would have to go there with you with a vampire.
Vampire would be sick. Being able to, I watched a Jim Quick video and he said, and I'd never thought of it like this, the best superpower is actually being able to learn anything really quickly. But I think if you had unlimited time, you wouldn't even need to worry about the speed of solving something. Time control would be cool too. Like if you could pause it, like if I could pause time, but like you could still be not paused, that would be sick. And you could have all the stuff.
Exactly. And that's kind of like this movie. I forget what it was called, but it was basically like
Tenet.
It was like the father and then he had the son and they were able to like relive any part of their past. So they could keep going back in time and replaying those parts of their life over and over and over again. So it was an interesting movie for sure, like a concept similar to that, to where they would keep going back and like making different decisions in a key moment in life and the outcomes would change things. But back to your vampire thing, if vampires are real, they definitely started the Red Cross, like the blood bank for sure, right? Wouldn't that be the smartest thing to do?
Well, plus you can have like clone blood now, I believe too. So there would be like no downside. They essentially would have a like centuries, millennial old network of wealth, of infrastructure, of influence. They'd have access to they would just hunt for funsies. Like they wouldn't really hunt for blood.
So I think just back to the topic that we were talking about. Just one more point to make is I think people would say like, oh, but work gives you a purpose. If you didn't have to work, like you would get bored, but that's where you fill your time, like we said earlier, to where you could volunteer, right? Help people who need it, maybe are less fortunate. There's so many different things, right? Like helping elderly or like, people who don't have a parent or foster care, like a big brother, big sister type of thing. Or just, I don't know, there's so many things you could find that would be constructive. Start a podcast, right? Like,
like a really sick podcast.
Yeah,
like Sam and Joe.
Yep. Share.
Or a blog.
Don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button, please. And leave a
smash
comment.
that like button.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to plug our freaking sponsors. So hopefully you've made it this far. I'm sure everyone who listens just can't put this down. We're sponsored by two things. Number one is GetRichRetire.com. It's our companion blog, correlated articles about wealth building, success, passive income, lifestyle, cars, golf, real estate, stuff like that. And sportformula99.com. Go to Sport Formula. Check out their multivitamins. They're all cold pressed. Cold pressed vitamins are actually way healthier because they have live and active enzymes, and 100% of them are going to absorb into your bloodstream. Actually, they absorb on your tongue, and I take them every day. I feel freaking fantastic. I only slept 5 hours last night, and I feel like I slept 10 because of these vitamins. Yeah, so there's that.
Like it. Do you know who Daniel Tosh is?
I do.
So I don't know if you ever saw his stand-up special where he was talking about this. Like when people say money doesn't buy happiness, he's like, it buys a jet ski. Have you ever seen a sad person on a jet ski? He's like, no. He's like, go ahead, try to. It's impossible. He's like, and he's like, He's like, you just can't be sad when you're on a jet ski. So,
dude, I used to be a big fan of his. His stand-up's actually really funny. I don't watch Tosh.0 much, but he's a pretty funny comedian.
I actually saw him in person in San Francisco, and especially
was it?
It was.
Oh, that was his live special.
It was incredible.
Yeah,
right when he came out, I shouldn't even say this on the podcast, but he basically cracked like a gay joke in San Francisco, and it wasn't a nice one. So it was not many people were laughing, but I was laughing because it's a comedian would like, don't take it personal. Like he's there to tell jokes, but I was just like, oh, this is what kind of night it's going to be. Okay.
Did he rebound from that successfully?
Oh yeah. He had people cracking up the whole time.
Okay.
Right
good,
away
yeah.
when people were like, he's like lighting up people. It's a joke. Like you came here to hear jokes. Like,
I wonder if that's like a strategy. You like set the bar, like you do like a low emotional anchor and they're like, well, it can only go up from here. And then it like builds.
I think that's a good point. And you're also like giving people permission, right? To just be like,
lost you for a sec. Yeah, I've noticed that. I think it's something with all these storms that are going on right now. There have been a lot of weird, like internet issues. Like my internet was a little weird today. And I'm here in Chicago. The like hurricane or the tornado alarms were going off. Where do I need to go to be more in the middle of the screen? Here we go. Turn the camera a little more. Whatever. Is your video cut out still? Uh-oh, we lost Cam. All right. I'm going to go rogue for a sec here, guys. So, today I woke up. I drank some coffee. I walked my dog. I've been working on my golf swing. So actually a really interesting swing technique. It's called the no turn backswing. Check it out. I literally got into golf later in life. If you're not into golf, I understand why, because I thought it was dumb for the first like 30 years of my life. My dad and my brother were really into it. Hey, you're back. What's up, buddy?
Sorry. I think it ended our recording, so this podcast might be cut into
it's still recording.
It's recording on your end?
Yeah, it's still recording.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I don't know what happened. It basically was like, I don't like you anymore, and booted me out, so I had to leave and come back.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, so I was talking about the no turn backswing. So if anyone's interested, it's a really helpful golf technique. Google it. But yeah, so money, happiness. Yes, where were we?
Oh, I was going to say there were some people they did enjoy the dad joke segment from last week. So I don't know if you have a dad joke,
dude. All right,
available.
I'll tag you in first. I have actually Abby. She told a joke in like a big meeting with like a really important company, and she's like, yeah, they told me not to, but I couldn't help myself. So it's there's like $1 billion companies that they're like doing consulting for, and she's like telling like ridiculous like dad. She likes to tell dad jokes. Anyway, so the joke is what do you call a man with a rubber toe?
I know the answer to this. Do you want me to say?
It's Roberto. Yeah. And I'm like, how was it received? And she's like, yeah, it went really well. I was like, okay, that's good. She's like a cute, like Asian woman. So I think she, like, her telling the joke makes it even more appealing. Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. What do you call a cow with 3 legs?
A cow with 3 legs.
Tri-tip. What do you call a cow with 2 legs?
What?
Lean beef. What do you call a cow with 1 leg? Steak.
Okay,
what do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef.
Okay, I like that one.
All right, that's
Have you seen those
all the cow jokes?
No, I'm like Googling dad jokes now, but I feel like if you just read them without looking at them first. What do you call a lazy kangaroo? A pouch potato.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, buddy. Have you seen that? It's like a YouTube skit, I think, but they have like comedians or like just people try not to laugh at dad jokes. It might be like a Conan O'Brien skit. It's really freaking funny though. Like really funny.
Yeah, because I don't know, it's just the silliness of it, I guess, right? Like have you had anything manifest recently? Or
Dude, yeah.
Anything you want to share?
First of all, I'm glad you asked that question. I got this new book. I'm really into the Seth material. If anyone's familiar or anyone's not, I guess either way, I'm going to say the same thing as my cat.
I don't know what that is. I'm interested.
Yeah. So, have you heard of Esther and Jerry Hicks?
Yes.
All? So they're like very like well known in the law of attraction community. Jane Roberts, who, Esther like channels. Thanks, Eleanor. That's super helpful. So Esther channels Abraham. That's like the spiritual entity that like speaks through her, their books. So Jane Roberts channels this dude named Seth or entity, whatever, consciousness. Anyway, so the first book, it's like the most known one. It's called Seth Speaks and kind of gives an overview, but very high level of like, we're these like beings that are actually like a larger part of a large consciousness. And we're like choosing to have like this physical experience as like this kind of like learning journey and like shit like that. It goes way more in depth, reincarnation, etc. Anyway, so this particular book, it's the practical applications of like deliberate creation, and like the analogy that he used that was like, oh dude, of course. It's like he's like, I don't have a body, but I'm writing a book. I'm not even writing it, I'm just speaking it, and it's going to turn into a book, and it's going to be in someone's hand at another place in the world. And it's literally like his intention, his thoughts, his speaking then like turns into this physical reality. But anyway, so fast forward, I'm trying to think of the best thing that happened recently. I had a look. Let me think. You go first. I want to think something good.
I just want to comment on what you just said. So it's really fascinating to me because think of all the times throughout history to where people are like, this idea came to me for this invention or to paint this or to write this book. And the guy didn't have a body, he's just speaking it out. And like you said, it manifests or comes to someone else and someone else puts it out, right? Type of thing. That was my thought when you shared that story.
Yeah. A lot of what I've been doing is like just trying to be intentional with where I direct my thoughts. And I've just felt really good. Man, I feel like something good has happened. Oh, what I'm trying to do now is certain areas of my life, like some of my like work stuff, side hustle related, I've found very challenging, but I'm like introducing the challenge by labeling it as an issue. So now I'm just trying to do this whole thing where I'm like, oh, this is easy. This is fun. I don't know. I got to be more intentional with this stuff now. I feel like you get to the point where it happens so much that like it becomes the new normal. Like I need to like write this stuff down. That's a good call out.
Yeah. And it's easy to miss like little things, right? Because if they're happening, like you might not even think anything of it.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay, so I charge a lot of stuff that I get reimbursed for on my credit card, and I was like, I need like a rewards card. I'm like, I'm not even like taking advantage of this. A couple days later, I'm on my I think I may have used this example before, but it was really uncanny. Days later, I open up my app to like take a look at my credit card and like pay my bill, and an offer pops up, and it's like for like a cashback rewards card. And I was like, because I was like, you know what? Don't get like a hard pull on your credit. Like, just fuck it, like whatever. And it just like was there. It's like, hey, you're already pre-approved. Like, just click this button, because it's like an add-on to my current card. Like, it was so cool. How about you? What's the latest and greatest thing you've manifested?
So I've been buying some silver, and sometimes they're out of certain stuff. They'll only have like whatever they have, right? I think that's starting to become commonplace here, just because usually precious metals are kind of one of the physical assets, along with like real estate and other things that people move their money to, like when a recession is happening, to kind of help protect against that. I think more and more people are seeing what's going on, so more people are going to that. But anyway, on my dream board, I have two specific like silver coins that I printed out and put on there, like pictures of. And the last two times that I went to the like bullion shop to purchase silver, the first time they only had one of the coins, and then I went today and they only had the other coin. So I thought that was pretty interesting, because people might not think that's a big deal, but there's a lot of different types of coins that you can purchase. And the fact that the two I put were the two that were available the two times I went, I'm like, all right, the board is already, and it's not even a month old yet, I think. And I did it like the middle of September, so it's almost a month.
How much time do you spend like
staring at it?
Yeah, or like meditating and trying to like, I'm gonna call them the metachlorians, like influencing the metachlorians to attract your stuff.
So I definitely should meditate more than I do, but it's right above my monitors. So like literally I look up, there's right there, I can see it, and it's huge. It's 3 feet by 2 feet poster board. It's like massive. So I'm here, this is the desk I work at, so just periodically throughout the day, I'll just look up at it, then usually like look at everything or pick out one specific picture and just stare at that, and just take a break for like a minute and just visualize me, whatever that picture is, like using that item or going to that place. And then sometimes I'll just even put my headphones on and put on like music that I like that gets me in a good mood, because that's the point, right? Like being in a good mood, feeling that way, or put on like the exhaust sound of that specific car, like playing on YouTube, like somebody has a car, like revving it. And my chair that you can see, it's kind of like faux leather. And just imagining that, close my eyes, the chair I'm sitting in is like the leather in that car, and hearing the sounds. And then I just visualize how I would feel driving that and that sort of thing. And that's connecting like your thoughts and your heart together. So I feel like it helps amplify it.
Yeah, so the emotion is so important behind the thought. Like the thought is good, but the emotion is what really brings it home. This is interesting. I wanted to ask you this. Something I've been not playing with, but kind of thinking about. So do you think it's possible, because in essence, it's not necessarily the emotion, it's the intensity of the feeling. And I could see this going either way. Could you use like the dark side, how they like use like negative emotions to attract your goals because they are so strong?
I mean, you definitely attract things when you're in a negative mindset, but my experience is they're usually negative things. If you were to attract a positive thing with negative emotions, like I don't think it would work. Or if it did work, you would get that thing not in the way that you wanted it. Like, did you ever see the movie Bedazzled with Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley, where she's the devil? That's when she was like really smoking hot.
Yeah, she was like that was like her heyday. Yeah, I remember the movie.
And every time he like wishes for something or whatever, she agrees to do for him, there's always some catch to it that he's like, what the F? Like, this is not how I wanted it. And she's like, well, you didn't specifically ask. So I think that would kind of be a similar thing to how that would happen.
So you might get it, but it would either make you feel that same emotion, which would suck, or it would be something weird where like, yeah, you got $1 million, but it's because you got in a car accident and lost your leg.
Yeah. So I wouldn't try to manifest when you're in a negative mood. I would just do it when you're in a positive mood, and whatever it takes to like kind of get you feeling good. And even for me, when I'm doing it, I just feel so good, and I'm like having a better time during the day. And I don't know, like deep down inside, especially lately, I'm super pumped. Like I know this stuff is here, it's ready.
How do you get to the no
things are already
phase?
going? I just am like, I don't know, the little things happening, it just makes you feel confident. And I feel like I don't know, it's hard to describe. You just start, they're like little moments and pieces, right? And the more you stick with it, the more those moments will come along, and the longer they'll get. And they just start kind of snowballing. Like you brought up Esther. She talks about being in the vortex, and I think it's 90 seconds or something like that. She says they got to be in the vortex, which is basically like when your thoughts and your emotions and feelings all combine together for that thing that you're trying to manifest. And
so 90 seconds is the minimum to get the maximum, or is it 90 seconds minimum just to get the minimum? Like
I think she said that was the time you have to do to basically like submit your order to the universe of what you're trying to manifest. I don't remember if it's 90 seconds or if it's 57 seconds specifically. If somebody who's like,
I have that book, I got to read that part.
Please put down in the comments. And Sabrina had bought her audiobook, one of her books, and we had listened to it, and it's really good too. If people, you want to listen to commute or something like that, of course, after Cam and Joe, listen to that first.
Yeah. Listen to this
and then listen to, some of that after. But I think that's the biggest thing for me. And then everything that's going on in the world, I just feel like I've tried to position myself as best as possible through crypto and things to where like I feel good and confident about where that's going to go. And who knows, no one knows for sure, and it's right. But I just feel like the research and everything else, like I'm put myself in a good high probability thing. Plus with the manifesting and positive, like I know it's coming. It's going to be good.
How do you, and that's something that I view like abilities that I envy. I'm like, I can cultivate the gratitude. I can feel good about a thing, but I don't have I know, like I know. And I feel like you're really on point with that. Like, how do you get to that level? I feel like I'm one tier away, and that's like the master tier.
Is there something in your life that you do feel that way about that you could apply? Like if you have a goal in the gym or something, or you're like you're like, you know what, today I'm gonna do my 1 rep max or something, or specifically, like, do you doubt yourself, or you're just like confident, like, oh, I'm gonna nail this, like I got this?
I'd say the first thing I thought of, and interestingly, it's not gym related, because I'm usually it's like I like being fit, but I don't like working out. I like the net positive of the act, so I do it.
Or what about sales?
There's so many benefits.
Like when you have one of your, like team members coming to you and like, hey, I need help closing this person. Are you like, I don't know, or just like, oh yeah, I got this?
Usually, yeah. The biggest thing for me is
level, right? You're just like, I've done this so much. Whatever comes across, like, I know I got this. So it's like the same thing, right? How
do you translate that to a thing that, and this is me being devil's advocate, and I think where my blocker is I'm like, I know those things because I've proved that I have proof of concept. And so a lot of these things where you have to just believe, I'm like, well, I've never actually seen it, right? You know what I mean? It's like, it's definitely like self-defeating, but like, I want to get to that place where I just believe it.
No, I 100%. And don't get me wrong, there's times where I will like have doubt or maybe not feel as positive as I should be. But the key is repetition. And the more you do it and the more examples you have, it just starts building and snowballing. And the key is to just have more of the positive than more of the negative.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
For
That's
instance,
good.
I think it was on our first episode or second one, we had talked about waking up in the morning, like you don't need an alarm. You can just tell your body before you go to sleep, like, I'm going to wake up at this time. And I know you told me that you tried that and it worked for you, right?
The dream thing. I did the dream thing. And dude, that's the thing, bro. I've been remembering my freaking dreams. Like,
see? So
at first it was, I was like barely remembering. And then I would remember right when I woke up vividly. And now I'm remembering it not vividly. I'm remembering it vividly right away, but then I'm still remembering small chunks like that I'm committing to memory, long-term memory, which is really fucking cool because I've had some really interesting dreams, man. So that was definitely from a manifestation, yeah, and really just practice.
That's a perfect example right there, right? So it's something that you're like, I don't know, like if that's going to work, right? When I told you that, but then you went and tried it, and it worked. So you got like a little bit of evidence, and then you stuck with it. And the more you kept doing it, now it's building bigger and bigger, and you're able to remember more and more for longer. And another way to kind of like make that go even further is when you first wake up, if you have a journal or paper, something, notepad by your bed, write down as much as you can as soon as you wake up about the dream. And the more you do that, that'll continue to help you remember it even more and more.
How much of your I know level belief comes from, I'm going to call putting in the work, like that example where you're like, okay, if you want to take this to the next level, you got to set it up, get the pen, get the paper, put in the work to get to that next level. Like how much of your belief system is through like putting in the work?
I think mine was more from getting the examples, and then they'll come and I'm like, all right, if I put a little bit of work in and this came, like what happens if I put more work and more effort in?
How do you find the breadcrumbs, like to go, oh, that I'm noticing this little thing, which is a minor proof of concept of this bigger goal?
I think
this bigger belief system.
One, being open to it's possible is kind of the first step, right? Because if you're not open to these concepts at all, like trying them, are you really putting like full faith or effort into it, right? If you're open to something and you're willing to like honestly give it a try, it'd be like if you tried a new food, right? You go to maybe a restaurant that maybe the food is, a type of food or ethnic food that you've never tried before. And you just look at it and maybe it doesn't look appeasing. And you're just before, right? And someone said, yeah, just try some. And you're like, if you're already in your mind, like this disgusting, I'm going to hate it. But what do you think's going to happen when you try it?
Yeah.
Regardless if it's good or not. But if you're like, hey, like I'll definitely try, like, yeah, I want to try some of that. And you try it, taste like, there's probably a lot better chance that you'll actually have a positive experience with it, right? So I think this is the same type of thing that just carries over. And, if you try something, you're like, this really doesn't seem to be working, you're right. Like you adjust and then maybe try something else, or like picking tips up from other people. Like the things I say might not work for everyone, and people can comment down below too, like things that work for them. I mean,
yeah, I would love to see that.
They have ideas that I would definitely be down to try too, because anything that can improve. But it's just like XRP, for example, right? I spent so much time like reading about stuff and like watching videos of people digging up these kind of documents. This was years ago, to where it was the point to where I'm like, all right, like this is like, there's not enough new information coming out every day, and you keep watching this, but like I feel that confident in where this is going to go. Who knows how long it may take, but I know this is like a long-term hold and a good investment for me. It's not investment advice for anyone. Do your own research and do what's good for you. To where I'm like, I know time is going to come, and I feel like that time is coming soon. So that's one of the things that I feel like really confident about. Something I was thinking about randomly too about one of our videos, you would ask specifically like, what would be, I think, a way that people can kind of remove that barrier that's blocking them mentally from like manifesting big things. And it was, I couldn't think of this example at the time when you asked, but something that I used to do with my exes when we were in Arizona and things, we would just go, they have open houses at like multi-million-dollar homes. We would go look at them. And there's nothing, I remember the first time we were kind of like, should we go? Like, do you need an invitation? Like, are they going to check your income? No, none of that. If it's an open house, open to the public, like, it doesn't matter if you work at McDonald's, like make minimum wage, you can go there. And the point is like, you might feel uncomfortable. It's like your story.
I was going to say, yeah,
about the jewelry store, like looking at the Rolex. But some of these houses we're going into were like $7-10 million houses. And the more you do it, you just start feeling like comfortable, like it's normal. Just like if you walked in your own
Freaking
house.
love that idea,
And
dude.
then the ones that are furnished, which most of them are, I would just go in there and I would sit down on the couch and I'd look out the windows of the view and I would just imagine myself like living there. Like in the kitchen, I'm like in front of the sink, like pretending like I'm washing dishes. No, like serious, like.
Yeah, no, I love that.
And walking around and just being like, yeah, like this makes me feel great. It wasn't the feeling of like, oh, I feel uncomfortable. I was like, yeah, like this is my house. Like I could totally live in here. Like piece of cake, right? Like imagining Logan like playing out in the yard. So I think it's things like that you just do. You just feel comfortable about that. And then if you're comfortable about it, it's not a big deal for you, then the things will come, right? Mm-hmm. Like an example will be like if you go out, right? And you're out with your friends, you see some girls. If you're talking to some like girls, right, and you're like nervous, uptight about it and everything like that, it's probably not gonna go very well. But if you don't care, you're just like, well, whatever, like saying crazy shit or whatever. Usually the results are very different, right?
It's crazy how that works. Yeah,
it's the same type of thing. Like if something's not. And I don't mean like it's not a big deal for people to have those things. I just mean if you're not, it doesn't stress you out when you think about it.
Yeah, you don't feel bad about it. Yeah.
If when you think about it, it makes you excited and happy and you feel like this elation, that's what I think you want to get to.
Yeah, so, it's the thing where it's like, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say it's that whole thing where it's like, and you don't even have to, it helps, I think, when you're directed at a specific thing, like how you're actually visualizing like specific coins or cars or houses and stuff, because then you're like making a very specific order, but you're just essentially just feeling good. Like it's the thing with it's like the whole thing of stoicism. It's like, how do you care without caring? Like the pursuit of more comes from a place of less. So how do you want more without feeling lack? And if you just feel good and there's things that you want, okay, yeah, it's more specific. But like the girl example, it's like if you're just coming from a place of being prosperous, you just get things. It's like when you have it, you don't need it. It just gets handed to you. When you need it, it stays at arm's length.
Exactly. And
I wonder if the universe like senses the desperation. It's like, oh, you're desperate. Here's more desperation. Oh, you're feeling prosperous. Well, here's more shit to make you feel prosperous.
Exactly. And part of that's said too. And you know, when you read these things and like other people will tell you, is there like, if you're like the lottery person you talked about in the last episode, people who get like so scared that they're going to lose their money when they get it, what do you think happens? They lose it because they're in that mindset and that fear, and fear is one of like the lowest vibrations that you can be in.
Ugh,
so it's one of those things. That's why they say if you're more of like, you know, people are very generous and give away money and like help those things, like they're constantly, as money's coming in, they're constantly also giving it back out. So they're not in that fearful, like, I'm going to hold on to every cent like an Uncle Scrooge type of thing.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh yeah, cool. Like I got this money. Like, yeah, I'm going to share like with people. Like that's what brings me joy. And it's the carefreeness of it. Right. So then you're saying that message to the universe. And I think that's what really opens you up. The same type of thing. Right.
I wonder, like, and that's kind of contrary to what I've been thinking about lately. Like I was talking about in the last episode, how the net positive of my frugality is I just accrue money. I'm not like, I don't budget. So I'm like, I'm not taking money. I was like, maybe I need to take it more seriously and like care about it more. It's like, is there like so bottom is, oh my God, I'm so desperate. I need money. I'm, life sucks. Top is like, I have so much, I don't give a shit. Like, is there a perfect meridian where it's like, that's how much you should give a shit, and then how much you should not give a shit? You know what I mean?
I think that's a hard question to answer. I think it's different for each person. Like, you have like a very significant sales background. I have a little bit of sales background. Like, did recruiting for a couple of years. And people can tell when you got like commission breath, 100%, right? So it's similar
that's a
type
good
of
point.
thing. Like when you're desperate or like real thirsty, people can tell. So like I think a thing that made me successful when I was recruiting, I recruited in the Army for a couple of years while I was in, is kids all the time, or especially parents, they'd be like, "Oh, you just want my kid to join so you can get like a bonus." I'd be like, "No, we don't get bonuses. We just get a base salary. That's what we get, and I don't really care if you join or not. Like, I'm just providing you an option of something that you can do when you finish school, like another thing that's available to you, because how can you make the best decision for you and your family if you don't know all the options available to you, type of thing."
Yeah.
So those were the approaches that I would take. And it was just like that like took off way more. And it was just, I don't know, it's the same type of thing when you just like, I cared, right? Obviously I wanted to meet my goals, but at the same time, that was the balance of like feeling confident to where if this one didn't work out, like no big deal, I'll find another person to join.
Yeah, dude, I love that analogy you just created, because there is a commission breath. I love that. I've never heard that before.
Really?
It's like oh yeah, dude. I'm really digging on that. I'm gonna start using that a ton.
Yeah, tell your recruiters. Hey,
well, it's like when you're just feeling good. You're like, I got a fucking money, dude. Like, what's up? How you doing? Like, people are just like, oh my God, I'll buy anything you want from you. And then when you're desperate, it's like, yeah, is that okay? What do you think? They're like, ugh, like, I don't even want free shit from you. Get away from me.
And that's the
I like that.
That's the energy you're putting out, right? Like whatever energy you put out, the universe is going to mirror back to you. Same with negative thoughts, positive thoughts. So I think that's
it's not about prioritizing money or its significance. It's about just feeling good about money.
Yes.
If that's your goal.
And if that's hard for you to do with that, pick something that's easy for you to do, something you enjoy, a hobby or whatever it is. It could be something small. Just start at a small place, a small step. It's just, and grab that thing and just, even if you're like, oh, I just feel great for 10 seconds thinking about this or doing this, the next time try 20 seconds and you just keep building it more. And once you do that, you can move on to something else. And it's more so about, I think, just being positive and like good energy and good thoughts more of the time than negative. And once that starts balancing to where it's like 50-50 and then 51-49, once you start getting almost like a teeter-totter, right? Or like the scales like this, it starts having significant difference. And then it's like, you're just in a great mood. So after that, whatever you think about, those are great times to start like making a dream board or like other types of visualization things, or journaling or writing, or when you're singing or dancing or whatever's making you have a good time, or like playing with your kids. If you're having a good time in the backyard playing with your kid, while you're doing that, just be like, imagine playing with them at Disneyland or some type of trip you would want to take them on, right? Like,
I love playing those scenarios out in my head. I've been doing this one lately. Oh, here's an example from before. So, I'm moving to Houston in July. So out of nowhere, I'm like, we should marathon Top Chef, Abby. And she's like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm like, cool. Let me freaking find it legally online, not pirated.
Of course.
And so freaking fire it up. The last season is in fucking Houston. So literally, like, in order for that to happen, like, I had to get the thought of watching Top Chef. They had to have decided to film it last year in freaking Houston. Like, it's like most people would just go, oh, well, wow, that's what a coincidence. It's like, no, dude, like, the freaking stars had to align in like a lightning strike chance for that to be just randomly. I'm like, well, let me go ahead and watch the show I haven't watched in 10 years. And it's in the city I'm moving to. So I'm essentially using it as like a research base to find like cool restaurants and stuff. But I really love what you said about, because a lot of people don't feel good about money. And I had a lot of points in my life where I was like, I didn't feel good about it. Like I wanted more of it. I was desperate for more success, but feeling good about anything leads to more feeling good about everything.
Exactly.
So if it's a freaking hobby that you can bury your mind into, and that gives you enough of a positive distraction to slowly taper 1, 2, 3, 4% more, every day, week, whatever, that can lead to then feeling good in general and kind of dismissing some of that negative thought stuff and attracting positivity on all fronts, right?
Mm-hmm. And I like your example because I think it just answered two things that we talked about earlier. One, you were asking like, how do you notice like that you're manifesting things and stuff like that. So I think one, the fact that that show, the last season, you know, the most recent was Houston is really interesting. And two, I think that's the way of the universe like communicating or letting you know that you're making a good decision.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
It's literally like, here you go, dude. Here's the info. Remember that thing you're doing?
Yeah.
We're on board. Oh, that's cool.
So I try to look at that with things too. If I'm doing something or making a decision and something happens, I'm just like, oh, okay. Like the universe or guardian angels or however you want to look at it is like reaffirming that like my decision is positive and it's going to be good for me. I give you an example. The first time I went to the coins shop and I bought some silver coins. As soon as I got back in the car and I turned the car on, the radio was off, so it just displays like what time it is, like fairly large on like the digital display, and the time was 11:11, which for people who follow Angel,
nice.
like that's very positive.
That's like the biggest one, right?
So right there, it's just like I already felt good about what I was doing based on like kind of research and where I feel like things are going. But then to have that also basically universe being like, yeah, this is going to be good for you. So I think things like that, like, people can look out for.
It's also the openness, right? Like you're open to looking for signs because, and there's that dark part of my brain that goes, oh, well, it's just 11:11. Like what a coincidence. And there's so many other people that are going to have that in the world that have thoughts like that, right? That are just so dismissive of this whole concept. Even though it's like, it's kind of like, even if you don't believe in gravity, you don't really have a choice. Like you have to take part in it. So energy and attraction are happening whether or not you believe in it. That being said, why not be open to experiencing it and seeing things as signs to be positive and grateful for what's happening?
Exactly. And believe me, signs are everywhere for everyone. It's whether your head is buried in the sand or not. They're there. You just got to start looking for them and paying attention. So
I love that, man. This is one of my favorite episodes, dude. What are your we're at our hour mark here. Any words of wisdom for our 8 million subscribers?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to kind of reiterate what we were talking about today is money, buying a specific thing, an item or token or whatever might make you feel good for a little bit, but that's not really the point we're trying to get across. The point is that it frees you up, it buys you time, it relieves stress, and it allows you to do things that you do enjoy and do bring you happiness. So I would say for me, that's the biggest takeaway. A tip I would have for people is check out that crypto video. Maybe get yourself some tokens. I won't say which.
Yeah, we should link that in the description. To toss that bad boy in there just to kind of get people a little info. I love and this is the thing about like money, and this is actually something that I came on recently. I'm very money focused, growing in sales career. It's like your brain becomes tweaked to like, that's like, oh, good boy. Yeah. I'm commission, money. I'm succeeding. Oh, good boy. Right. So it's, but money is a vapid goal. There is no, like, money isn't a goal because you never reach an amount where you're like it's a thing you need to have more of to just feel good. So there has to be a goal beyond that goal, right? One of the best mentors I've had, this gentleman, Chad, I was in the job and I was like, dude, they don't pay me enough. I need more money. And he's like, you have to get to the point where you don't think about money. Money is a symptom of success, no matter what. It's always going to come if you just focus on being successful. So and this is maybe years later, where I started really internalizing and creating goals that were like, oh wait, why do I want the money? Yes, I want more freedom. I want more time to do what I want. I want to feel safe, like whatever that is. There's always a deeper reason. And that's the goal. So once you can find what that is and remove the thinking that money is the goal, you can really, really start attracting more of it, because then you can just hone in on, how do I feel good? How do I feel safe? How do I feel loved? Whatever that is. And then you don't have to get money. You just go fucking do a baseball game if that makes you feel good. And then you're going to get money just by feeling good. And obviously you got to do stuff, but it helps a lot in it resetting what the real goal is.
No, I love it. I think that's perfect. Perfect analogy for people, because again, you could get trapped in that loop of like, gotta keep chasing. It's never enough, but that's
never enough, dude.
That's bad. Like that's not, it's not the,
and when you feel good, you
point.
just feel good. I'm not like, I need more feeling good. I feel good. Like, you know what I mean? Like you just feel good.
Yeah.
Well, cool. This is I love this episode.
Me too.
So thanks everyone for listening. Definitely check out our YouTube. Put the link in here. Feel free to subscribe. That'd be awesome for the videos, which are getting better and better every week. Audio's doing real juicy, sassy, fantastic. If you're interested in us answering any questions, please leave a comment. If you'd like to be featured, that's something that we're going to start working on, guests and stuff. Feel free to drop a line, and we'll get after it. Cameron, always a pleasure, dude.
Yeah, you too, Joe. I appreciate it.
Have a good night, guys. Take care.